In these times of uncertainty, I think it's worth telling a couple of jokes or so to keep people's spirits up. So, here is a very famous joke about physics. Once upon a time, there was a farmer, and the farmer bought a cow from a market. And he decided that this cow was going to be the best milk producing cow he had ever owned. So, he asked some of his scientist friends to help. First of all, he asked the biologist. And the biologist came around and had a look at the cow and said, okay, what this cow needs is a really good diet of just the right nutrients to produce the best milk possible. Farmer tries this. 2 weeks later, the milk that is produced is wonderful, it's creamy, there's lots of it. Brilliant, he thinks. I'm going to ask another scientist friend. So, he asks a chemist. The chemist has a look and goes, right, milk production, it's all really just chemical reactions, so here are the fertilisers that I want to put on the grass, which you're going to use to feed the cow. So the farmer does it, puts fertiliser on the grass. The milk, even creamier, even more of it. Brilliant, the farmer thinks. So, let's ask another scientist friend of mine, and goes and asks a psychologist. The psychologist has a look at the cow, has a look at the cow's barn, and says, okay, we want to paint this barn blue. Blue is a nice calming colour. Maybe have some classical music on, keep the cow nice and relaxed. Farmer does it. Even more milk is produced. The milk is creamy. It's the best tasting milk he's ever seen. Wow. Okay. What I need is the help of one more of my scientist friends. So he calls his friend the physicist. When the physicist comes and has a look at the cow, has a look at the barn, has a look at the cow again, gets a whiteboard pen out, has a look on his whiteboard and goes, let us assume that the cow is spherical. That's the punchline, that's the joke. So here's the thing with that joke I've just told you. It's actually quite a good summary of what we do in physics. You see, I quite often get asked by a lot of students, why are you not telling us the whole truth, sir? Why are you leaving things out? Why are you not explaining fully what's happening in the situation? And that's because that's quite complicated. Let's imagine something like a Formula 1 car. Formula 1 cars are very, very complicated. You've got to look at the aerodynamics, the downforce. If the wind hits the car in a certain direction, the car might rotate. We have to include that. The positioning of the driver, that could be very important. The full shape of the car, in terms of all these forces, is very, very important. If I try and teach that to a year 9 student, they're going to find that very, very difficult. So what we do at GCSE is we ignore the shape of the car. We just pretend it has no shape at all. So we have what's called a point mass, or the centre of mass, centre of gravity. And we do all of our calculations around this point. Then, when we move on further, we start to add ideas such as air resistance, downforce, friction, all these more complicated aspects. And that is what you would do as you go on and eventually maybe become a Formula 1 engineer. Another way to look at this is something like in football games. If you look at the football games of the 1990s on computers, they were very basic. Then in the 2000s, we get a bit more advanced. You get 3D images, the balls react more complicated than we did before. And nowadays, you look at FIFA games, PES games, and it's very hard sometimes to distinguish what's going on from a real football game because more detail has been put into the program. So, the joke might not be very funny, but it is a joke which explains a lot of what we do in physics. We simplify, sometimes oversimplify, but then we can add more detail if we need to.